I'm Lola.
And I'm Mamuna. Together, we have a combined 35 years of experience within the tech scene in North America and Europe.
We talk about the highs, the lows, the WTFs of navigating the technology industry and answer your questions about navigating tech careers.
This is Lost in Tech.
How are you doing this week?
I'm well. I'm busy-minded. I feel like I've been like that for the past month and a half. Just a lot going on personally, professionally. Moved into my new home. And so you know, riding that life wave. How about you?
Honey, I feel for you because I am relaxed this week.
I need that energy.
I'm 1 week into a 2-week holiday. Oh. This has been my staycation week. And all of the productive stuff that I wanted to do is out the window because all I have done is lie down a lot, brunches, lunches, a little bit of day drinking here and there.
Good for
hang
you.
out with the kid and just unwound. And
it's necessary.
It is necessary.
Are you Canadian to the point where you go to cottages?
Oh, so funny you saying this because there's a whole cottage thing. So we don't have a cottage, but I have been to other people's cottages and I do really like them. But then I have been a guest, so I did not have to schlep all of the shopping, all of the drinks and all, I brought a little bit, but I didn't do the work. And I don't think that I would be into doing it for a weekend, maybe for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The first year we were here when we couldn't fly because of pandemic stuff, we did do a cottage vacation in this place called Prince Edward County, which is stunning. And there are beaches and it's access to the lake. So it is a nice lifestyle, but I still need a holiday version that involves a plane and going somewhere a bit further away. So that's what we're doing next week. Next week, we're going to a holiday resort, and that's nice. That's a holiday for me. It's we're way away.
You're away. Yes.
I also don't believe in doing my own cooking when I'm on a holiday. So the cottage is nice, but somebody's got to cook.
Still work.
Somebody's got to do that work, and it's it's still work.
I love it. You could get a person to come cook for you.
But I have to say, so being in North America, I now see Canadians do go to the cottage and they do use up some of their holidays. But you US folks, what is this issue with booking a holiday?
I don't know.
Can you just take some time off? What's going on?
I don't know. I've recently fallen into this really bad habit that I need to shake because I used to be every month, where am I going? What am I doing? Where should I travel to? And it's just been slowed. So need to change that. That is not trending.
Well, see, this is the thing, because I hear people say things like, I'm just things are really busy right now, so maybe when it slows down, I'll book a holiday. And I'm like, it ain't never slowed down.
I said that today.
You need to book the holiday. Yeah, you need to book.
I need you to hold the
holiday. Yes. Please book some time off. Listen, I know Europeans are apparently less productive than folks in the US or whatever. But the one thing we don't mess around with is we use our holidays. And let's talk about the Swedes, by the way, who will take a whole 2 months off every year. Jeez. It used to be the same in Italy, but no longer. But folks don't mess around with their downtime because it's necessary. As humans, we need the break. So book a holiday.
Okay. That is going to be the theme for this week.
Theme for this week is book a holiday. Also the stats, right? So tech companies are increasingly adopting these unlimited holiday policies, which are great in theory, especially if you're in the US, and most companies will give you 10 days holiday a year, which is wild to me. But the problem is with unlimited holidays, people tend to book less holiday.
Yeah.
They don't have a forced requirement to take that time off. And I'm like, if your company is going to give you an unlimited holiday policy, use it. Take some time. That is the word.
Okay. That is the word. Okay. Well, so this actually transitions us pretty nicely into a first area we can talk about, which is maybe not holidays, but trips or explorations.
Indeed. Well, I think firstly,
Yes.
huge condolences to the families of those who perished on the Titan submersible, which is the story of this week. And if you don't know about it, this is essentially an exploratory vehicle that allows you to go very, very deep into the sea. It's not a proper boat or a submarine. It's just called a submersible. And one such vehicle, the Titan, which was on a visit to the Titanic wreck, perished this week. Yeah. I can't imagine the emotional reactions for the family, because initially the story was that they were running out of air, but then it emerged that actually it probably imploded very early on when they lost signals, and so the loss of life was effectively catastrophic and instant. So that's really, really tough. But the discussion, I guess, is like, there were 3 people on that vessel, maybe even 4 of them, who paid $250,000. It
was 5, I thought.
Well, there was the captain and then I think 4 guests. Yeah. They paid $250,000 to have this once in a lifetime experience to go and see the wreck of the Titanic. And I'm just like, if you had that much money, if you were a billionaire and you had the ability to do any number of things, like what would you do? Because we see so many of them, they're going into space, they're going deep sea diving, they're jumping out of planes, which maybe isn't as big a deal, but like maybe you would if you had that much money.
Not me. I consider myself like a risk taker, and I like living with like that, like, ooh, that little kick to life. But there are certain things where I feel like the amount of control, though I don't need to always be in control, the amount of control I can have is just there's none. I mean, you're trusting that a person has built something properly enough to take you to the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. And a number of things could go wrong in which you as a human cannot and will not survive. Like, there's just no way. Like, there's nothing that you could prep and plan for, regardless of how much money you have in that situation. Yeah. And I mean, let's talk about the submersible.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, it was, there were definitely questions about the actual vehicle itself, right? So, I mean, first, before we even get into that, the numbers say that it is a greater risk to cross a street every day. The likelihood of injury is usually higher with those mundane day-to-day things.
Well, because you do that more.
Because you do it more. So, like, statistically speaking, this stuff isn't riskier. But in the case of this submersible, there were a lot of questions. So from what I have read, and the information is still emerging, from what I have read, the first area of concern was the fact that it was a carbon fiber submersible. And people who know about these things question that, not because it was a poor material in general, but because of the intense pressure of the sea. It was actually that over time, the integrity of that material would degrade, which seems to be what might have happened here, because it imploded under the pressure of millions of gallons of water. The second thing was there are videos of this submersible where the team behind it spoke about like having made great improvements in the design to make it simple and easy to use. And they talked about user experience and, having like a Logitech game controller as the way to control and navigate it, because it was that simple. And that just sparked a lot of WTFs.
If I'm going to the bottom of the ocean, simple should not be the word someone is using to describe the thing they have designed to take me down there. I do not want simple. I want complex. I want tested. I mean, simple is not it.
Simple is not it. But for example, so when I did my master's in human computer interaction, some of my lecturers and even like people who are on my course with me, they went on to, or had previously been involved in designing airplane cockpits, right? So the masters had a lot of ergonomists. And ergonomists, if you don't know about that, they're people who kind of make sure that door handles are in the right place. So like they kind of measure and monitor the psychology of the brain, the distribution of proportion in the human body. And when they design standardized equipment, they try and take that all into consideration. So I vividly remember this one lecture we had where we were talking about plane crashes and airplane cockpit design. And the lecture we read a couple of papers that a lot of airplane crashes had come down to human error. So they blame it on the pilot or the co-pilot doing something or not doing something that they should have done. But in that course, we learned that like human error is a given, like we make mistakes. The problem is that cockpits are incredibly complicated and you can have two switches that do opposite things that look the same or might be in physical proximity to each other. And so you just got distracted by a bird or had a random thought and then you push the wrong button and suddenly, the plane's out of control and boom, you crash. Obviously, that's super simplified, but the idea was that we needed to assume human error was going to happen and design for that eventuality. So like, sometimes a big button or a knob or a twist or something that's like ugly but highly functional, very difficult to make a mistake around is way better than let's do simple, like touchscreen with like one button does temp threads depending on which mode you're in. Like those evolutions make me more concerned, this idea of like UXing highly critical safety environments, because it just... life is more important and like humans are going to ask. So we don't know if this captain and the person who conducted this vehicle made a mistake, but I'm kind of like the videos that have emerged where they were talking about this amazing new carbon fiber design, or like the super simplicity of being in there with like one button and like game controllers, that in hindsight, that now all seems incredibly naive. And I'm like, this is why we still need people who think about the fact that mistakes will happen. And in safety critical environments, you have to design some redundancy and support to avoid that shit. Because my God, imagine being in that submersible in that moment. It's like, I can't even fathom it. And then it's like, this one button, what the hell am I supposed to do with this one button?
Right.
It's tough.
I mean, not only is it human error in this case, but you should be designing for the environment in which you're going to be in, right? So whether you're in space, you're in the air, you're in water, you have to, like, it's not simplicity in that case. It's complexity for the situation. And
some things some things you should not be optimizing. Again, the only thing you're really designing for in those environments is to enable an experienced, fully qualified, fully vetted individual to make all of the right decisions despite their humanity, right? So like these folks will still be highly trained and they know what they're doing, but to err is human. And so you're always optimizing for a fail-safe and like a redundancy or like some way of mitigating the worst case scenario, because everybody benefits in that world. Everybody.
I don't know. We make we make so many mistakes in a day, but like you said, it's not going to. It's a wild thought. Like just oversimplifying something to the point where it becomes just detrimental to life.
So I guess the feedback is, if you are a billionaire who can afford any of these experiences, no matter what, you maybe don't want to go for the one that promotes great UX as the like the primary feature, and maybe, rely on something that is much more fundamental.
Invested in, built well, durable.
Yeah, I think so. But again, massive condolences to the friends and family of the folks who lost their lives, because again, I just can't imagine losing a family member or a loved one in that way. And,
Yeah.
So let us move on.
Yes.
We have a letter.
Yes, we do. And I feel like I've gotten away with not reading any of them the last several episodes.
You keep coming back to me and saying like, I need to read them.
No,
but it's all good. But before you read it, we should let people know this letter arrived into our inbox, help@lostintechpodcast.com. Send us your emails, send us your letters, send us your dilemmas. like this amazing writer did, so that we can help you out on the show. So over to you, Mamuna.
Yes, here we go. The writer states, Dear Lola and Mamuna, how do you build a framework to compare two opportunities? I'm in a position where I can say in my current role, where I can have good opportunity, great lead, great team, a support system consisting of mentors and sponsors. I'm well regarded, trusted, and I'm given stretch opportunities. I've worked hard to be in this position. I'm set up for success and leading a long-term project that I've worked hard to bring to where it is. At the same time, another opportunity with a different team at the same company is knocking at my door. I'm intrigued by it as it is unusual. I have no idea if I would succeed. The risk of failure seems high, but the prospect of high personal growth is also there. It is very high visibility, and I don't work with very senior folks, but opportunity for career growth are unknown, and I don't know many who have taken this path. I don't know what kind of support system I would have, though. It might be none. I am extremely lucky to have these choices, but I have no idea how to navigate them. All reason tells me to stay where I am, but I can't help but to wonder about trying out the unknown. But then I feel foolish about taking so much that I have for granted. There's so many rooting for me where I am. Why give it up? Yes, this is so interesting. Let's start on your side.
So many things about this letter. Firstly, thank you very much, writer.
Yes.
This letter, the first thing that strikes me is that kind of age-old dilemma of, is the grass greener on the other side? And like in life, sometimes you kind of look at things that way. You'd be like, oh, let me not get too obsessed with like something new and shiny because, I need to be grateful for what I have. But I think when it comes to your career, that mindset is clearly just fear talking, right? Like you have to get comfortable with discomfort if you are looking to grow and expand your impact in any way, shape, or form. And it sounds to me like, maybe the other opportunity isn't the right choice at this point in time, but not going for it or not considering it because of fear is definitely not the instinct that you want to bring to the table when something like this is in front of you. You have to be willing to go towards the discomfort, right?
Yep. A lot of people, I think, when they're looking to take big steps in their career, tend to leave the company because they don't feel like there's a good growth opportunity, a good step that is far enough in advance to take them to where they feel like they're fresh and new and they can grow. So to be presented with an opportunity like that, naturally, we all have this like, can I do it? Am I right for it? Should I do it? And, I'm a huge advocate for like when you feel that, it's a good feeling and you should lean into it.
Yeah. It's almost like if you are fearful, you have to ask yourself, okay, what is it that I'm scared of? Right? What is it that makes me scared? And clearly this person, like they call it out, they're scared of visibility, right? Visibility means there's this greater risk that if I fail, so many people are going to see it and it's going to be public. And like, I have a mindset that I apply when I think about this, which is like, is this a personal failure or a professional failure? Right. Number one, failure in any case is inevitable. You have to fail to learn. Right. But the fear of failure, people take very personally, whereas professional failure can be a very different thing. Right. So if you externalize your thinking, if you say, hey, we've got a bunch of decisions to make. This is my mental model for this decision. Here are the pros. Here are the cons. Here are the opportunities we could take. Here are the mitigations we could apply. And you socialize the heck out of your thinking. Then everybody's on board with where you're at. And if things don't go well, if there is a failure, then that's a team failure. We all saw how things were going to go. We all understood the upside and the downside. We all bought in. If you internalize that and it's just you saying, this is what I'm thinking and I don't want anyone to know what my fears are, so I'm not going to tell them, or I'm accountable for this, I'm just going to keep all of this stuff inside. Nobody knows how to be on the same page as you. And so a failure could be a personal failure there because you didn't take folks on a journey with your thinking. And so it's much harder. So when people are telling me they're scared of failure, if you externalize your thinking, it is rarely going to be a personal failure because that first time when you say, if it's to your boss, here's what I'm thinking. Here are the opportunities. Here are the cons. Your boss can say, oh, you missed a key risk here that maybe we should consider. And you can be like, oh, thank you. I hadn't even thought of that. So now you've captured inputs that are valuable. If you never have that conversation, that input never comes. And so you missed what you didn't even know to look out for. So I think it's worth being like cognizant that like, as long as you're externalizing your thinking, whatever your level, whatever your role, it's rarely going to be all on you, because, you know, these things are team sports. Then they're rarely like one-man bands where like every win and loss is all on your head. And the moment you use fear to not externalize your thinking, you're probably setting yourself up to have a personal failure, which obviously is a bigger deal, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting here is I think that it's natural. I think they're like micro thoughts we have in this every day, all day, as we take steps day to day. But anything with career, it's so shaky, right? Because we have a steady path. We know the day is predictable-ish. We know what to expect. When you don't have the same people around you, the same, support system, your mind doesn't know how to create that path of predictability. And in comes in a lot of like, can I do it? Am I capable? Like those natural questions we start to swirl around in. And so there are things that we have to also do for ourselves to build that confidence to say, in any situation I'm in any environment I'm in, whatever it is, like I am capable, I do have the tools. And the thing that I love to do when I'm thinking about like what I'm working in or what I'm going to work in is I love to think about it as an opportunity to test what I've known, what I've built like in my mind, but through my experience. It's an opportunity to test what I know to be true, right? So, by going to a new role, by going into like taking a step, I can take my tools, I can use it on new people, new products, new environment, like whatever it is. I find that to be a good way to balance like that. Am I capable? Can I do it? Like, okay, this is an opportunity. How good am I? Let's see. Do you have frameworks you use when you're thinking about opportunities?
Yeah, I do. I have a really simple one actually that I've used for years and share with people. So it's like 3 questions that I ask myself. Question number 1 is, do I like the job I'm currently doing? So that's within my current role, the things that I'm asked to do day to day, what it means to get satisfaction from my day-to-day job. The second question is, do I see a growth path if I stay in this role? So do I see how I'm being pushed, how I could get to the next level of performance impact, and am I motivated by that? And then the third question is, do I like the environment? So if both of those, if the first 2 answers are like yes, then like, am I happy being in that position in this context? And I think rarely is the answer to all 3 yes, but I use the 3 to help me gauge, what am I looking for? What needs to shift? Do I need to speak to my boss and say, hey, I really love what I'm doing, but I don't feel like I'm growing? Or, hey, I feel like there's a great growth opportunity here, but my day-to-day job doesn't really reflect that right now. How do we talk about it? In the writer's case, it sounds like they love the environment, right? They have the opportunity to not move. So then the question is, this new role versus the current job that they're doing, which of them sounds more interesting? And then which growth path is more interesting to them? And as long as they're not hiding from fear, as long as they're not like reacting to fear, those 3 questions at any point in your career, like they just help you, they help you ground yourself in, should I stick with what I'm doing? They may help you compare between this opportunity and that opportunity. And I think critically, it should also help you figure out when it's time to leave a job, because you start to get a feel for what's changing, what's evolving. And so those 3 questions are like my forever tests for me personally. And I freely encourage other people to just stick a sticky on a wall and just, glance at them every once in a while and ask yourself those 3 questions. It's like, do I like what I'm currently doing? Do I like the growth path that I can see? And does it motivate me? And then do I like the environment in which the job and that growth path exist in? And just check in with yourself on a regular basis.
Love it.
So let's summarize the advice.
I think the first thing you said there was like, let's get comfortable with discomfort. When you are growing, when you're stepping into a new space, it's going to feel uncomfortable. And so that is almost like it's a feature of growth, right? Like that's an opportunity for us to grow.
Separate out your personal versus professional failure models, right? So externalize your thinking at any given point so that you're not personally failing. It's just a question of, as a team, we chose and opted in, and think about that as a way that you consider failure going forward. Like, it's not about whether or not I did the right thing. It's about what we as a team were opted into, and keep your thinking external in that sense.
Yeah. And I think the last thing you were saying was just like evaluate with your framework. It's a great opportunity in this case where you're able to like take on a new role within your existing company. So evaluating those opportunities that come up internally using those 3 questions that you had mentioned is a great way to kind of level set and understand, are you potentially like keeping yourself stagnant, running away for something that could be a really great opportunity.
Absolutely. Good luck, letter writer. Thank you very much for sharing your challenge, and we hope the advice is worthy. We do also have an amazing guest who's also going to weigh in on this issue. Wendy is my personal professional coach and also a longtime friend. So we'll let Wendy weigh in on her advice as well.
Thank you for your question. It's one I get often from clients who are considering a big decision like this. And if by framework you mean an approach for how to make the decision, then sure, I can offer some ideas that will hopefully guide you, with one important caveat. If I had 5 different clients all asking me the same question, I would likely approach helping them solve it in 5 different ways, because everyone has a different character structure, different experience, and so on. But there is one thing that pretty much everyone can benefit from when making decisions like this, and that is to tap into the wisdom of the body-mind. The body-mind is that part of you that has the wisdom and consciousness that comes from a deeper place than your intellect. It tends to be housed in your heart, in your gut, in your organs in general, and it can help you connect with what the true you really wants. So when you're making decisions like this, it can be helpful to spend some time getting out of your head, and that will be different for different people. It could be getting exercise, it could be meditation, playing with your children, doing something creative, walking in nature, whatever it is for you. Okay, so spend some time doing that before you start to make the decision. Once you've done that, then a couple of things that you can consider are the following. You could ask yourself a question of what is really important for you to experience right now in your life. Notice, I didn't say what job do you want. I didn't limit the question to your work only. I didn't talk about tasks and activities. I said, what is it important for you to experience? And so once you've defined that, then you can look at the 2 opportunities and feel into where in those 2 jobs you could experience those things that are important to you. Again, notice I said feel into. I didn't say think about. Because if this was as easy as creating a pros and cons list, you would have done that already and the decision would be made, but you're obviously looking to make this decision from a deeper place within you. Okay? A second thing you can do is to consider what, if you look 5 to 10 years out from now, what types of things would you want to have experienced? Again, I'm talking about feeling into this decision. I'm not talking about naming a job title, a specific level of income, or a specific role that you might be in 5 or 10 years. I'm talking more about the soul's journey that is housed in the body-mind and tapping into what it is that will be important for you to experience. And then when you look back, you can say, I did those things. Okay? Another thing I want to point out is that in your question, you mention a risk of failure. And I don't want to bias you to one decision over the other, but I think it's important to remember that failure is simply perception. Remember that you get to define your success criteria for any role. Yes, you may have goals and OKRs and things that your lead asks you to do, but you may define success as building resiliency or expanding in your personal growth, which you also mentioned in your question. So remember to be careful with words like failure. Once you get into the body mind is not so concerned with so-called failure and is more focused on that soul's journey that is ultimately so important. So if you get into that body mind and make the decision from there, you will have a greater chance of making the decision that is in line with what the true you wants. I wish you good luck and peace in whatever you choose.
So what are you learning about, Mamuna?
Yes, for this week, I am for work learning a lot about logistics and just thinking about like the end-to-end flow for merchant use cases. There's a lot in there that I did not know about, learning about like retail use cases, learning a lot about different companies, 3PLs. So just diving a bit deeper into that space at the moment. How about you?
3PL being third-party logistics.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Because I would go into acronyms.
Yes.
Yes. Third-party logistics companies. Yes.
I'm not so much learning, but getting back into this whole quantified self thing. So, the tech that allows you to measure every part of your thing. So I got the Apple Watch and I've set some daily goals and I'm trying to use it. I'm trying not to game it because this is my problem is I worked out how to game the whole thing and I'm trying not to game it. I'm actually trying to use it to be like, no, just make decisions to not be sat down all day. Okay. Don't just game it to get the stat on the watch, actually get up, go for a walk, do the right thing. And so, yeah, I'm kind of in this adjustment mode where I'm trying to not just be sat down the whole time. It helps that I'm on holiday. But also I'm competitive AF. And so I'm not inviting any more people because it's too much already. I'm already competing against like other people for no good reason. And I'm just like, I'm not okay that I'm already obsessed with that aspect of it. So no, I don't want to be your friend on my Apple Watch. Okay. Leave me alone. But I'm here and I am getting used to it. We've made this show for you and we want to hear your stories. We have our combined 35 years experience in tech. We have an incredible bank of experts to call on. We are your safe space. So send us your tech challenges and we'll help you create some draft decisions through some real talk.
You've been listening to me, Mamuna Oladipo.
And me, Oyelayo-Pearson.
Edited and produced by me, Michael Blissa, with theme music by 031 Mash.
Email us at help@lostintechpodcast.com or DM us at lostintechpod.